near Tucson, Arizona. I used to be in the Air Force. I used to be in the Titan II missile program. And I actually came to this missile site and worked quite often. Right now they've turned it into a museum because the missile is no longer used as any type of weapon. So this is just a building they put here to, it's a museum. You know, they've got it pretty much set up like it was when I worked here. It's to demonstrate how the site might look, you know, if they were doing work here. But the missile is actually under the ground out there. We went and did a tour today. Hopefully we can show you a video of some of it later. But 40 years ago, there was nothing here. Now there's a lot around here. There's a town, you know, there's just a lot more than what there was. But anyway, brings back a lot of memories. I hope maybe you like some of the video we took for you, okay?
The Titan Missile National Historic Landmark. That means we preserve and present the history of the Titan II Intercontinental Ballistic Missile System.
So can I take one picture with this if you're stand by it? Yeah. Yeah? Without touching them?
Came down to the access portal. There's 55 steps and 35 feet down to where we're at right now. Now, the last phone call we'll make is right here to my right. That is the last phone call that we'll log to make to the command center. They will then call the commander in there that they were allowed in. They both hold open buttons, so we'll call it this one, this is there, so one of the command desks in there. They both hold those open, and the pins will retract off of this door for all four of them. They will then pull the door open and come inside this glass lock area. Now this door right here, glass lock 7, would be shut. Only one of these doors can be opened electronically at one time. You see the lock right here that switches power. That was the safety measure. So inside of here, we start with a hardened site. Where you're standing right now is pretty soft, which means that in nearby nuclear blast, this access portal will most likely collapse. Inside of the blast block, the walls start being 4 feet thick of concrete, reinforced rebar inside with the size of my thumb, the size of the handrails up there. It's also lined with quarter-inch steel plating around it, but it's also grounded. This is to guard against electromagnetic pulse that nearby nuclear blast would create. The EMP would be guarding against it. Now the door itself is made of rebar welded together, or I-beams welded together. It's a milled surface around it, which matches this milled surface right here on the door stop, with a neoprene lining around it. This creates an airtight blast block, so where that radiation won't get inside. This facility itself is protected against 300 pounds per square inch overpressure, and the door is rated for 1,000. To put that in some perspective, your home will be destroyed in 5 to 7, and most commercial buildings will be destroyed in 7 to 12. So a 300 and 1,000 rating is pretty high, so you're pretty most likely to be safe inside here. So now we're going to go inside, look at something in here, and we're going to want to just try to move on.
Strongest I've ever seen. Okay.
This is called shock isolation. This is so that when you're like the blast here to create that shock wave, that vibration, things will shake, but they won't break. Right here, this piece of machinery, it's also on springs. It's out of those green cases up there. And there's slack built into the wires intentionally. This system, when it sways and it bounces, because that shock wave, it won't tear out of these electrical connections, keeping it safe. If you all will notice behind you guys, that one does not have any springs or any slack built into it. Notice because that one was not deemed mission critical to the mission being to launch the missile. This one was. So the blaster, does anyone remember how much it weighs in the video? The blaster weighs about 6,000 pounds or 3 tons. So it's a heavy door, but to this day it still moves pretty well. It has a 1/4 inch gap.
You were inside of the right? You used to work inside? You were so special.
You had to come into here, close that door before you can open this door.
So you press buttons to open the
It pays more money than the capital. All right? Okay. This is a launch control center. And I poured out in the diagram that three-level structure I poured out. You're in the middle of it, level 2. Level 1 is the cruise quarters. You saw quite a bit of that in the video. Okay. You might have heard of Motel 6. That's Motel 1 up there. Not much there. Okay. Down below, the 3rd deck is your equipment bay, all the equipment. There's over 40 subsystems that support this facility, and its only primary mission. That's to launch the missile if the order came in. Okay. You got plumbing, heating, pneumatics, hydraulics, electrical, everything, except the missile itself. That's what supports this system right here. Commander, this is your console, and your job is really to monitor and supervise. And you can do that monitoring from this console right here. Just like the dashboard of your car, really. This is going to give you a summary of what's happening all over the complex. Okay? This bottom row is your indicators and stuff for the facilities, all those 40-plus subsystems. This middle row is your missile status. Now, you might have seen when you came in that black cone on display in the center of the room, in the reception area where you buy your tickets. That's called the RV. And you're going to see the actual RV on a missile when you go down to the silo to do your self-guided tour looking down on top of the silo. Now, that doesn't mean that there's a Winnebago inside that missile. RV stands for reentry vehicle. And the only purpose of that black cone is to protect the warhead from the heat of reentry. Okay? This is the status of your missile, your inertial guidance over here. I want the computer to this. I'm going to tell you more about everything else. Okay? This top row is your missile launch status. Okay? And I'll get back to more of these as we go along. Okay? There's a special reason I request a woman sit in this chair. This is it. Prior to 1978, combat assignments roles in the U.S. military was strictly a men's only club. After 1978, Congress passed a law that allows women to serve in combat roles. The first combat role that women served in the U.S. military was sitting in that chair. In control of, in charge of, the largest weapons platform, 9 megatons, ever deployed by a U.S. missile. Our museum director, Yvonne Morse, she sat in that exact chair right there as one of the launch control commanders during her tour here. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to go around the room here to see all this equipment you're looking at. Over in the corner, Coulter pointed out that air conditioning unit. That's where the air shaft is I mentioned to you. That's where the fresh air comes out right there. You see that red plate. I'm going to tell you about that in just a second. Now, something about that overpressure, that thermonuclear detonation, is overpressure, the shock wave. And it's going to shoot out like the son of a gun. It's going to destroy anything in its path. Now, the human body, 2 pounds PSI overpressure is lethal. Maybe you can stretch it to 3 or 4. 5, you're definitely dead. So anywhere in that 2, 3, 4 range is going to kill you. That pressure plate and that shock wave, that pressure wave is going to come out. And it's going to seek out any hole in the ground. A staircase, for example. Or an air shaft. And it's going to shoot down there. And if you didn't do something about it, it would come right out that air shaft where your fresh air came in, and it would kill the crew. Well, we can't have that. That red plate's a pressure plate. It will sense 2 pounds per square inch overpressure. And it's going to slam shut when it senses that 2 pounds PSI. It's going to protect you and the crew from that overpressure. And the sad news about that is it cuts off your fresh air too. But if you're launching your missile, fresh air might not be your biggest concern at the immediate time. This red box is your EWO, the Emergency War Order Safe. Commander, that's your lot, that's your deputies. You get those issued to you when you get through your training for this position. That lot is classified. I mean, literally classified, is considered classified. If it's not on that safe, it has to be on your person. If someone walks around, comes up and says, where's your lock? And there are people in the Air Force, that's their job to do that. They try to make sure you have the lock on you. They also try to figure a combination. So if you use a birthday or anniversary or something like that, that might be in your service record book, and they guess that combination, I don't know where you're going your next assignment, but one, it's not going to be sitting there, and two is it won't be Hawaii. It'll be somewhere else. That too, maybe? Okay, that's the EWO right there. This is all that communication equipment, top side, that Colton pointed out to you. It feeds the equipment down below. And it comes up to here. Very high frequency antennas, very low frequency antennas. State of the art, by the way. State of the art. 1963 dot matrix printer right there. Now, there's 4 crew members. The captain already told you about sitting right here at her console. The deputy commander, lieutenant or second lieutenant, sitting training for that job right there. This is their console. Those antennas that Colton mentioned that are in the hard silos, the primary, anything surface is going to be gone by a nearby detonation. Everything's destroyed on the top side. So these backup antennae are in hard silos, just like the missile is, and they're deployed in the event that the primaries get destroyed from right here. They also have this right here, little grease pencil, piece of plastic, safety and security. Everybody in this complex, the crew, any maintenance personnel, it is very common, almost a given. On any given day, you're going to have some maintenance personnel inside the complex doing their job. If you get an emergency order coming in, you've got to call them in here. That's where you know where they are. Then you have time over here. That's a very special clock right there. It's a 24-hour, 8-day wind-up clock. If you notice, there's no electricity going to it. I'm going to tell you why in just a second. Right now, that 24-hour clock is reading about 20:35. Your local time is 13:35. Civilians, you can go back to the regular clock back here, it's about 1:35. The thing is, that's local, this is local, that's your lunch clock. That's your launch clock. Please don't confuse it. That one letter is very important. Now, why is this clock 7 hours ahead of Tucson time? Anybody want to? Now close, because you need to go west a little bit. It's Greenwich Mean Time. The prime meridian, Greenwich, England, 0 prime meridian, that's where all-time world watch calculator from. Starts at that point. This is at Greenwich Mean Time. In the military, anybody know we call it what? It's called Zulu time, Z time. The reason being is this. All military operations worldwide, for us and our allies, are based on Zulu time. The reason being, pretty simple. We don't like confusion. When you're doing a major military operation, you don't need added confusion. There's no time zones to worry about. There's no AM, PM. There's no daylight savings time. It's all based on Zulu time, right there. Okay? So that's your deputy commander right there. Twice an alert. That deputy's going to call up the atomic clock people in Colorado and basically say, hey, what time is it? And they're going to hack that clock within 1 second or less tolerance of that atomic clock. Every Sunday, the deputy gets their key and they wind that clock up. We still do it today. Well, you're probably going, wait a minute, we had electricity in 1963, so why didn't you use electricity instead of going to the house of a wind-up clock? Well, an electric clock is only as good and accurate as your 60-cycle AC current, right? You can see right here that we're actually pumping about 60.3 cycles. That means that clock would run fast if it's electric. If it's below the 60 cycles, it's going to run slow. So that's why you have that clock. That's the same engineering technology. It's called a chronometer, as your Rolex watches are. It's very, very accurate. Okay. 2 other crew members, by the way. They're both enlisted personnel. Their training is much more extensive, up to a year long. One is called the MFT, the Missile Facilities Technician. And that person's responsible for all those 40-plus subsystems that I talked about earlier. Everything except the missile, that person's responsible for. They do their checklist twice an alert, making sure everything's okay. If there's an issue, it's going to show up down here somewhere. There's a light or something for you. Okay? And the other one is the BMAT, the Ballistic Missile Analyst Technician. That person's sole purpose is to make sure that missile's okay and ready to go if the order ever came in. They also take care of this over here, which is called the MAGAT, the Missile Control Alignment Checkout Group. I'm going to tell you more about just a second right there. So those are your two crew members. Power is one of the priority concerns of the MFT. And your primary power to this facility is just like you at home, the local power company. Now, I doubt you ever lose power at home, right? Never. But the missile has gyros that are constantly spinning. And we cannot lose power even for a nanosecond. If you know about gyros, what happens if they lose power even for a nanosecond? What do they start doing? It's like me after one beer. I don't drink, but one beer would do it. I start wobbling, right? No power even for a nanosecond. Those gyros start walking. Oh, start wobbling. They might have one already. And it loses track. It goes out of its mind. It doesn't know where it is. And if you don't know where you are, you can't get where you need to go. And if you have a 9 megaton nuclear device you're shooting off, then you need to know you're on target. Okay? So that's the problem right there. Make sure. There's backup. 350 kilowatt diesel generator. Primary goes out, that diesel generator kicks in. Takes about 60 to 90 seconds though for that diesel to kick in the full continuous output. That's why you have 228 volt DC batteries, Commander, on the bottom deck, your third level. And they're going to sit there and trickle charge. They're going to kick in when the power goes out until the primary or that diesel kicks in to full power. All right. Your BMAT from right here can diagnose every system on that missile by pushing the right buttons. Commander, it will show up right here for you as a light saying something's wrong. Okay? This is also the BMAT's responsibility. When you go up topside, you're going to do your self-guided tour, you're going to go by the engine shed. I really suggest you do. Okay? And you're going to see the first and second stage engines in the engine shed. The first stage has two, you can't miss them. They're the large combustion chambers. There's no ignition system on this missile. That's because the fuel is considered, well, the fuel and the oxidizer are hypergolic. Stored by themselves on the missile, which they are, they're fine. But if you combine them, they violently explode. They don't ignite. They violently explode. That's the chemical stuff about them. Inside those combustion chambers, there's a fuel and an oxidizer line going on the first stage engine on each of those combustion chambers. All four valves have to be completely open for the missile to reach enough power, the engines to reach enough power to launch the missile. If they're not, after 10 years of Titan, Air Force wanted to keep it around. It's doing a great job. But they wanted more security on the, to prevent unauthorized launch. So they put a steel bar on an oxidizer line in that first stage combustion chamber. It's only going to be open if the right code's put right there, which comes across as part of your launch order. There are six thumb wheels there. There are 16 alpha characters on each thumb wheel. Now I know you're trying to figure that math out. I'm going to give you a clue. It's 16 to the 6th power, possible combinations. Okay, who's got it? Okay. Another clue. It's 16.7 million and some change, possible combinations. It's pretty secure. No one's going to guess it. Okay. It comes across as part of your launch order, though. The only thing lit up on this board here, except for a few indicator lights, is targeting information. Commander, here's your dashboard summation of your targeting information. You have 3 pre-programmed targets, 1, 2, and 3. Guess which one is your primary target? Yeah, target 2. It's lit up. For the 19 years that 571-7 was operational, it was target 2. It was always on target. Now tell me everything you know about target 2. Nothing? Nothing's better. You're exactly right. As Sergeant Schultz would say, I know nothing, nothing. That's the perfect answer. Because you didn't know. It's classified then. It's classified today, the target is. So you didn't know. You do know one thing about it. you know it's a ground burst detonation. 1 and 3 are air burst detonations. I'm going to tell you more about those two in just a second here. Okay? All right. DMAT, this is your DC monitoring for your battery power. This is your circuit breakers. This is your BAGAC I told you about just a second ago. 63, when you came online, all of these blanks were full of state-of-the-art electronics. I mean, you know, heat sinks and fans and transistors, etc. The problem was, after 10 years, the expected lifetime of Titan, we had no more spare parts. We needed to upgrade our technology inside of it. We talked to Delco Electronics, who was working with MIT. They were under contract with Boeing Aircraft. They were developing what was called the Universal Space Guidance System for their brand new 747 aircraft. And we said, can you help us out upgrading Titan? They said, of course we can. So all these blank panels were condensed to one. This right here is unrelated. It's actually paper punch tape. It's only Mylar because I get to touch it. So in a few things I know how to touch around here. Okay? Now, it was used to input targeting information right there. Okay. I didn't tell you about all that equipment down below. I'm not sure I mentioned it. It's extremely loud. It is ear-shatteringly loud. You get these two speakers here. Strategic Air Command out of Nebraska, 15th Air Force out of Riverside, California. A launch order would come in from both those places. Whichever one has a stronger signal, that's the one you're going to hear coming out of here. Same as the two over there for the Deputy Commander. This room is loud. That's why you have your technicians having headphones over here. I mean loud, loud, loud. These only have one volume. Extremely bust your eardrums loud. Because you got to hear these speakers over all that loudness and noise from the equipment down below. And these things go off pretty regular, Commander. 15, 20 times not unusual. They got to change in wind directions. They got to tell you about a change in weather patterns. They got to do this. They got to change in whatever it may be. Okay? So you're sitting here and you're going through this and you're used to that thing going off. This is your emergency message action book. And then you're going to hear another message coming in. But there's something different about this message. And that's called the preamble. So when I play this message for you, pay attention to the first word you hear and the number that follows it. And it sounds like this. Okay, as soon as you hear that, you get the book out, so is your deputy, you start writing down these 35 alphanumeric characters. Now, what is different about this message and that change in wind direction or weather patterns or whatever you've been getting all night is that preamble. Anybody remember it? Alpha 2. Alpha 2 is the code for an incoming launch order. Commander, your day just got a little more interesting. You just did it. You stood up straight in your chair, you got a little closer to the thing, and your heart started going, because, as I said, incoming launch order. Now, we have a nuclear retaliatory strategy in America, which means if you get an incoming launch order, what is happening? Exactly. We have incoming nukes to America. And we told our adversary that we wouldn't start World War III, but we would finish it. Are you ready to finish it? Pretty heavy duty thought. But you are, because you're sitting in that chair right now. So you write down the 35 alphanumeric characters. Then, and so does your deputy in their book right here. Then this message ends and it says, I say again, or I repeat, or something like that. And it's going to repeat the message. And that little space gap between them doing that, you trade books with your deputy, and it repeats the message, and you cross-reference your work. And it's the exact match for all 35 alphanumeric characters. That gives you permission to go open your logs, and that's safe right there. Because you want to verify that this is from the president, the only person who can actually order a launch of a nuclear missile. Okay? You bring out the sealed authenticator cards. They look like this. There are actually dozens of them in there. And just say the second line starts with DF, Delta Foxtrot. That's the one you pull out, you break the seal on it, you bring out the cookies, and it has 5 more characters. Perfect match for line 2. You have, not permission, you have a direct order from your commander-in-chief to launch your missile. You bring out your key. So there's your deputy over here. I'm going to point out, these are keys. In the movies you see red buttons. Almost all the time, I know this. They're not red buttons, they're keys. They're 7.5 foot apart. No human being, to my knowledge, can reach these keys and turn them the way they have to be turned. They're pressure locked to the off position, which means if you turn it and you let it go, it's going to shut off. So Commander, if you can put your left hand on this key, you move around, okay, this thing, make it go easy, right? Okay, not yet, no, you put your hand on it. I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1, launch and point at you. And I say launch and point, turn it all the way to the right and hold it there. It's gonna stop at the 3 o'clock position, about there. Tell me when that green light comes on, okay? 3, 2, 1, launch. All the way, tell me the green light.
Zero.
Let go. Your job is done. What we started, we can't end it. That green light means the butterfly control valve code is good. Batteries activated. There are 2 28-volt DC batteries on that missile. They've been dry at this point in time. They're being force-fed electrolyte. That missile is powering up its own power supply, the batteries. 28 seconds, you're going to have APS power. The missile's on its own power. It will never listen to a human again. We cannot stop that missile. It's going to do its job. APS power silo is soft. You have a little alarm going off. That tipsy silo closure door just violated that tipsy. It's supposed to alarm. You're going to have guidance. Anything from the computers coming over to the missile for the last time. Fire engines. Your engines are fired up. You're going to have alarms go off. You're going to have fire in the hole. Pretty soon now. There you go. And Commander, last but not least, what does it say? Lift off. 58 seconds from the time we turn those keys, this Titan II missile, this 9-megaton nuclear device, thermonuclear device, by the way. It's not nuclear, it's hydrogen. Device is heading toward target 2 at a ground burst. It's going to hit target 2 in about 30-35 minutes. Not the place to be. It will vaporize that part of the earth. It will cease to physically exist. It's going to dig a hole about 450 feet deep, a half mile to 3/4 of a mile wide. If you've seen Meteor Crater, or been to it better yet, that's about the size hole one 9-megaton device is going to make. If it was an air burst, which 1 in 3 would have been air burst, detonation, 950 square miles of the earth is instantly obliterated. Any major city in the whole world, I'll use LA because we know about LA a little better than other cities in the world. All of LA, all of LA County, all of Orange County, gone. Maybe even a few more miles off the periphery of that, all gone by that 9-megaton nuclear device. Okay? Now, we're going to go down to see the silo, which is going to be led by Jillian right here in a few seconds here, and make sure the missile's still there first of all. This is your little souvenir, Commander. What does it say in red?
I turn the key.
Everybody heard it confess, right? Okay, so if you go down there and the missile's not there, do you have a credit card with a very high limit? It's only been gone 2 times in my 3 years here. Okay? So Jillian, if you can lead them down, please. You follow Jillian, she'll take you out to the silo, and you come back up top side, and I'll answer any questions you may have up there. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay? You did a great job.
Just go further. You will be in video with.
I had an MFT come in yesterday at 10 a.m. and he told me all about that he would take his helmet, he'd throw it. What did you do?
I was in
MFT?
Yeah, so me and you have to see
Yeah. What's the thing about? Where were you at? Oh, really? Okay.
Amit,
Yeah.
थोड़ा इधर को move.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. Multiple years later.
There you go.
Everything's the same except we covered the asbestos. Yeah.
Holy moly. Original diesel.
Okay, so there's 3 viewing windows that you can go to. There's also one over here on the side. You guys want to do that?
This is so beautiful missile. 950 miles.
Okay, so like I just said, there are 3 viewing windows. 2 of the ones that are right here to the left were cut off by the museum out of the launch deck, so you can look at the missile that we have on display. The one over there to your right is actually a maintenance door that was used to get out into the launch deck to do normal maintenance on the missile. So we're currently standing in what is known as the silo equipment area. We just walked down the long cableway, which that long cableway, I normally stop there, but we're a big group, so I'll tell you about it here. That long cableway is suspended from 54 of those spring assemblies that you saw all on the sides, 27 on each side. Some of the springs are a little bigger than others. There are also accordion brakes in that cableway. I don't know if you noticed. It makes so the cableway has vertical and horizontal leeway space for that shock wave to come through, so it doesn't collapse, so we can still get to the silo if we need to. If you look at the missile on the side, you're also going to see those umbilicals that are attached. I'm not sure if Jim mentions it, but when you get that liftoff flight in your launch sequence, that means that the console has registered that one of those umbilicals has been ripped out of the side of the missile, which means you have a good liftoff. So a little more shock isolation inside that launch duct at full throttle. These bolts are going to explode and detach itself from the thrust mount so it can lift off. I just mentioned the pounds of thrust that this produces. 410,000 pounds is what it needs to lift itself up out of the silo. Now that thrust is going to create a lot of acoustic energy. And even though Titan II was a very big upgrade from Titan I and the Atlas, what they realized is that all that acoustic energy had nowhere to go, especially if they were going to launch the missile from within inside of the silo. So the Air Force had to mitigate this problem, because ultimately what would end up happening is that acoustic energy would beat back and forth between the walls, and it would actually end up destroying itself before it made it out of the silo safely for launch. So if you look back inside the launch duct behind you, you're going to see all around the walls those gray panels. Those are actually insulator panels. They are full of fiberglass. And then if you look at this picture here next to the one of the thrust mount, you're going to see these two very large water nozzles located between levels 7 and 8 of the silo down below. And these are capable of pumping 9,000 gallons of water per minute down into the bottom of the launch duct. When those engines ignite, they're going to hit that water that's sitting down there, and it's going to absorb a lot of that acoustic energy. So these two things combined is why Titan II was able to be launched from its silo. Now, Titan II had a life expectancy of 10 years. However, we actually ended up getting about 40 years of service out of it. It had 3 main missions in that 40 years of service. Its first and primary one being an ICBM, an Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, which was the role that it served for 24 years before these sites were taken off of alert. Around that same time, it was also used as a Gemini launch vehicle, which we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the moon landing yesterday. That was actually, they used a Titan II airframe to get Neil Armstrong and his crew up into space.
I hope you enjoyed this video, or a little about what we're doing here with the missile, or maybe missile, depends on how you say it, right? But enjoy. Ask me any questions if you have any.